Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 6 of 2021 Sun Bookshop and Younger Sun Bookshop reviews. In lockdown 2.5, we're calling it 2.5. I'm going to kick us off this week, and I am reviewing Ethan Hawke's A Bright Ray of Darkness, a book that I would never have read, but I sort of looked at it, was really sus on it, talked to Deb about it, and then she gave me a copy of it to read, and that I would not have thought I enjoyed based on the synopsis. And I'm going to give a really quick one. It's essentially an actor. He's, 32, 33. He's arrived back from South Africa where he's been caught by the media with a woman who's not his wife. And his wife is like a Beyonce, enormous rock figure. So his marriage is crumbling. And then he solves it with like a lot of sex and, a lot of drinking. And so, it's just this white guy. And you're like, oh, I sort of went, oh, no. Then you read it and it's actually good. And that's a real testament to Ethan Hawke because he's created this character. His name is William Harding. And you don't necessarily like him, but you really feel for him. You sort of see him making mistakes and going to these things, and they're really toxic. And you can sort of see that he kind of doesn't want to do it, but he's romantic. But the center of the book is actually that he's come back from South Africa to New York. He's living in Manhattan. He's got his 2 kids, and they're kind of the center of his life. He's sort of trying to hold on to his marriage, but of course he's failed. He's being completely toxic. But he's also come back to perform in Henry IV, the production on Broadway, and he's not a theater actor. And so that's the center of the book. So while his life is kind of crumbling and he's trying, and you kind of, at times, the way he talks about women or sees women is really awful. And so you really don't like that about him. But Ethan Hawke, and it's definitely about Ethan Hawke, actually makes you like him. And he's kind of set at the lowest rung. He's not a theatre actor, so he really wants to do well. And you learn a lot about the theatre. And he writes about theatre. If you haven't been able to go to the theatre because of lockdown, maybe, and you miss it, I actually really recommend this book because he writes about the theatre really beautifully. And he writes in a way that you maybe haven't seen before. So yeah, actually a dark horse of a book, it's not a Tom Hanks short stories. It's Ethan Hawke and it's good.
What's it called?
A Bright Ray of Darkness. And the burnt out match might have something to do with the character. Because he's a bit burnt out maybe. Anyway, that's me.
Thanks, Josh. I'm Ella from The Younger Sun, so I'm going to be recommending a kid's book now called PIZAZZ. And I think the title of it does give it, that's what it's about. It's very pizzazzy, this book. So PIZAZZ is a 9.5-year-old girl with superpowers, and she comes from a family of superheroes, which you would think is really awesome, but actually it just means that she gets woken up in the middle of the night all the time to go out fighting bad guys. And she's also got a pretty embarrassing superhero, to be honest, and she doesn't want you to know what it is. She won't even bring it out even when she needs it to defeat a bad guy. Her perfect little sister is known as the Red Dragon, and not only does she have super speed, but she can also breathe fire. And Red Dragon is just maybe a bit of a cooler name than PIZAZZ. So this is from author Sophy Henn, who wrote the Bad Nana series, if any of you know it. And it's not just a book about having an embarrassing superpower. It's also a book about moving to a new town, a new house, being far away from family, and having to make new friends as well, because PIZAZZ is having a little bit of a hard time at her new school. I mean, is it her fault she came covered in goo, though? She had to go and defeat Megavom. So book 2 of PIZAZZ is also out now, and really perfect for anybody aged 8 to 12.
Oh.
And that's me.
I'm going to review a book. I don't have it here to show you, sorry. It's in lockdown at the shop. But I'm going to review The Imitator by Rebecca Starford. It's her debut novel, and it's set, the entire novel sort of bookends World War II. So it's set in the couple of years preceding World War II, and then the aftermath of World War II in England. And it centres on the character of Evelyn Varley, who is recruited into what's called the phony war. And that's the intelligence agencies that start to try and infiltrate Nazi sympathisers and communists in England before the war kicks off. So it's kind of that espionage, almost an espionage thriller, literary drama of a book. But it is so meticulously researched, and just it's a story that I've not encountered before in and around any reading I've done of World War II historical literature. It's just, I found it so interesting, and it's this really incredible sort of exploration of what happens to someone when they are recruited and sort of put out there to not be themselves, to play a part, and then what effect that has on them in the long term when they've had to turn on friends and family, essentially, which is what a lot of people had to do in the lead up to World War II to, you know, expose that treason against country. So yeah, Rebecca Starford's debut, The Imitator, I really enjoyed it. It's a great historical fiction, as I said, so well researched, and I found it a real page turner.
Well, I want to talk about Michael Brissenden's book Dead Letters. So Michael Brissenden is another Australian journalist who has moved into writing fantastic thrillers. The first one was called The List. This one is Dead Letters. It is about Sid Allen, who's a cop who in the past was in Afghanistan. He's been working for counterterrorism. He's now in a team that is involved with homicide and counterterrorism. The murder that they're investigating, they're called to a murder, and it is a politician, and he's in his car, has been shot. And he is a politician who's been working on the links between Australian right-wing extremists and the funding of Middle Eastern terrorists. And so that's the first part. He's been talking, this politician who's died had been talking to a journalist, Zephyr Wild, and Zephyr Wild is the daughter of a woman who was murdered 10 years beforehand, or 20 years, a while beforehand. And she'd been a madam in a brothel in the dark old days of corrupt police in Sydney. And her murder was never solved possibly because of police corruption. So Zephyr is on a mission to discover who murdered her mother. Her and Sid Allen start to work together about the two murders. It's really fantastic. It's got everything in a thriller: police corruption, political corruption, extremism, drug running, lies. It's so good. I loved it. Anyway, that's it from me. I am not a lion, just wanted to say. Also, we would love to see you back in the shop on Thursday. We really hope on the 18th. We're just all going to not be there until then. So we hope that you all find something productive to do in this little circuit breaker that we're having. And thanks for listening to us. Goodbye from the Sun Bookshop.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Happy reading.
Bye.